the hype is completely justified. I think there is not enough hype in the world for how good this guy is doing. And it was another performance, and his role in the second goal, where he doesn't knock it over a player and then just play the ball through. He is hitting levels where I think, and this may be, I can't remember the word now, over the top. But I think he's arguably one of the best footballers on the planet at the moment. As crime spreads around Merseyside and a killer is on the loose, only one man can save the city from certain doom. Wayne Rooney is DCI volley in Wazza, coming to ITV soon. Welcome to the Anglo-Italian pod. As always, my name is Rory, and I'm joined by my very good friend,
Adam. Hey Rory, and I do apologise in advance for my very rogue voice at the moment. I am feeling a bit under the weather, but nonetheless, we're still here, we're persevering, and we probably should put a bit of context around Wazza, shouldn't we? So, Wazza, it's intriguing.
This is the fantastic story. Now, he's obviously been inspired by, do you remember Arjen de Zeeuw, who played for
policeman
Portsmouth? He became a detective after his footballing career. Now, Wayne Rooney has obviously seen this. Maybe they were chatting on the pitch at Fratton Park, and he thought, you know what? I quite fancy that. And he has apparently inquired about going to law school. But Colleen Rooney has robbed the world of what would have been one of the greatest post-career moves of all time by discouraging him from doing it. Can you believe it?
It's amazing. I mean, the plot thickens, doesn't it? Literally. I mean, he takes the role of now Birmingham City, but prior to that, he admitted that he was looking at law prior to being offered the DC United job. So maybe he was trying to get undercover and learn how the US do it, right, Rory?
He's going to have a rough job going undercover, to be fair. It's going to have to be
some weight, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to have to be deepest, darkest Bolivia for him to not be recognised, I imagine. It's going to be a pretty rough undercover. But yeah, absolutely love that. And I really, I don't really get involved in the celebrity gossip and stuff. I can't really be bothered with it. But the Wagatha Christie story is absolutely different.
Isn't it?
We had the series Heard versus Depp recommended.
Yeah, of course,
right?
yeah.
And the missus was like, "Oh, we should watch it," and I was like, "I've got no interest. Absolutely no interest in it." But then I saw the Wagatha Christie thing, and I was like, "We have to watch this." And she was like, "It's the same thing. It's exactly the same." Oh yeah, it is the same thing. You're right. Yeah. But absolutely gripped by that, so I will be watching that. And of course, we have that derby coming up soon, right? Birmingham taking on Leicester City.
Yeah, that was literally the first thing that most fans were looking at in terms of fixture list was when would Leicester City with Jamie Vardy turn up at St Andrews or the other way around. But I mean, it's set itself for some tension, shall we say, before the match starts. So if there wasn't bad enough tension by the fact that Wayne Rooney's replaced John Eustace, who was doing quite a decent job for Birmingham, then the pressure is certainly on DCI Wazza.
DCI Wazza. We will be keeping up. We will be keeping our eye on him. We'll be surveilling him. That's the kind of words they use, isn't it? As his career goes on in the second city. I'm actually genuinely intrigued about how that goes because I think he's had some very difficult jobs. Well, all of his jobs have kind of been difficult. I think, like Derby. Yeah. And then where else was he? DC United were pretty terrible. So I feel like he's not really been in a normal, stable club. Not that Birmingham are stable, but they look like they're on their way up a little bit, maybe. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But we do actually have quite a bit to talk about in this show, I suppose. So very quickly, I'm going to tell you what you can expect. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about England versus Italy as two teams in two very different places, I think, face off. We'll be talking about San Marino getting their first goal for a while, which is lovely to see. We'll be doing a roundup of all the European groups, who is happy, who is disappointed, and of course, the return of club football this week. So we will be talking, giving a preview of the Premier League and Serie A weekends as football returns, thank God. And of course, we will finish with our mastermind quiz, where my fine self will be taking questions from the fine Adam. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go, mate.
We will see you after this very quick break.
Hi, I'm David Wheeler, and you're listening to the Anglo-Italian podcast.
And here we are. Welcome to the Euro review, where it is time to talk about all of the European international action that took place across the last week or so. And of course, we are going to start at Wembley, where sweet revenge was delivered very, very cold 3 years later after. And these games are exactly equal. I will not hear otherwise. As England beat Italy 3-1 after going 1-0 down. A very bright start from Italy, but I think overall, across the game, England's quality told, and I think 3-1 was probably a fair result. Could have been more. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I think what was quite telling was, and I don't know if you felt the same, but certainly before the match kicks off, I wasn't too sure about Spalletti's choices in terms of the personnel. But what was very evident, Rory, was the loss of experience in the likes of, say, your Marco Verratti's, your Jorginho's, and maybe likes of Chiellini and Bonucci. I think you're seeing that kind of gap that Italy are missing from a national team perspective. And whilst they still had a decent team, they still seemed a bit lost in the way they were playing. They were playing pretty much, 10 men behind the ball at times. I was a bit disappointed. I don't know how you felt the game kind of went as it kind of progressed, but England looked more threatening despite going back behind. And I think that kind of attack kind of summed it up. It was something of a wake-up call. And you could hear the kind of frustrations when Harry Maguire is getting the ball, but no one around him is moving to create space or opportunity. So I think there was that frustration in the first half for England up until obviously they get that penalty. But largely I was very disappointed by the way Italy approached it. Also, it did kind of, I felt like defensively they were really shoddy. You kind of said they had a fantastic defense. Unfortunately, on that third goal, it didn't look anything like that. But one special word, and I'm sure we're going to purr over it, Rory, is Bellingham's performance. So, yeah, I've said enough. What was your thoughts about the match itself?
I was hoping you wouldn't bring up the Italian defence. I genuinely said it was very, very strong, didn't I? I said, I think this is where they could be quite tight at the back. I feel like Scalvini definitely didn't have his best game.
No.
But with him being 18 years old,
you can forgive him.
Inconsistency is often a problem there. I think he was very unlucky to get booked.
Yes,
because that was a foul by Calvin Phillips. I can't believe
we can talk about that, but
yeah,
I can't believe was very lucky to stay on the pitch. I felt
go Calvin Phillips's way. I'll be honest. I couldn't believe that, but I think Scalvini was found out quite a lot. I think Cherby alongside him definitely didn't have a great game either. I think we're still seeing like you said, there isn't that experienced head at the back. Like Di Lorenzo is kind of fairly experienced, but I think with Italy, maybe not that experienced.
No, I don't think so.
They haven't got that player, like you said, like a Bonucci or Chiellini, who's been there, done that, can organise the defence, can keep it calm. And I think maybe I expected it from a Cherby, but you think even he hasn't really, his career's kind of kicked off fairly recently-ish, if you know what I mean, the last couple of years. So I think, they lacked a little bit of experience, and then into the midfield as well. Like Barella, obviously, is fantastic, but between Cristante and Frattesi, they're two players, again, that don't really have that leadership quality or that, it just felt like there wasn't that person on the field who was able to raise standards and demand more. And I think Barella maybe could be the person to do that, but I don't know. It was all a bit disappointing. There was a bit of lack of direction. And I think once Italy, they had a really bright start, but then once England equalised, it just felt like, okay, and that's us done. And the pressing and the pace and the stuff that they showed in the early stages just kind of faded away.
Certainly.
So I think they just weren't able to maintain those standards, the standard of performance. But I was kind of talking about it with a few colleagues today, and they weren't best pleased, I suppose. But I was just like, Italy are just bang average. They're just a very average team at the minute. I think there's obviously some world-class players there, but overall, the product is just quite average. And I think if they do get to the Euros, I still expect them to get there, but we'll talk about how they might fuck that up. If they do get there, I think quarterfinals would be an incredibly successful tournament for them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I was going to say, how is it being perceived at the moment from an Italian perspective? Because, I mean, as much as we're saying, they had their moments, I wasn't really convinced at any part of that match that they would go out and, win this.
I don't think any of them expected to win it. And I think most Italian fans would say this is not a stellar Italian team. This is not 2000s Italy, if you know what I mean. This is not top Italian team. And I think most of them look at the Euro win and say that was a very good manager. That was just like the right manager with the right team at the right time.
Yeah.
That it lined up and
It
kind of
works
the
out.
stars lined. And they played really well that tournament. I don't want to take anything away from that. But even that squad, they would say, well, that's not the best Italian squad. So I feel like they're very realistic in what they have at the moment. But I think they also know that they've got a very good manager in Spalletti, and they have improved since he took over. And if they do give him time and let him figure out what squad he's got and who he can bring through, and he does seem to be a bit more keen to play the young players, which I think is a huge thing. We've talked about in Italy so many times about how young players don't get opportunities, young people don't get opportunities. And this is a manager that seems to be more willing to do that. That being said, he did play El Shaarawy on the left wing.
Yes,
the guys,
this was
not
weird.
been decent since 2008, really. If you know what I mean. So I think
exactly.
There's still room for improvement, but Spalletti's definitely like bringing in Udogie, bringing in Scalvini. He's trying to bring in these younger players. So I think people know that it's the start of something.
Yeah,
they're just worried that they won't make another tournament. I think like not making 2 World Cups in a row is humiliating.
It's big. Yeah.
Like not making the Euros, like they let any bugger into the Euros at the minute, really. If you're honest about it, it's difficult not to qualify, right?
At the moment,
if you're anywhere, and I'm including Ireland, if you're anywhere near a decent team, it's quite difficult not to qualify. So I think if for them to not qualify for a Euros would be full on, like alarm bells ringing, like disaster. But I think, look, they have 2 games to get 4 points, right?
Yeah.
So they have to play North Macedonia at home, which is massive. At least it's at home. They won't have to play on that potato
still
field
nothing.
again.
Yeah, it's still a banana skin potentially.
But they won't have to play on the potato field again, which will help.
True.
And then they've got Ukraine in Germany.
Yes. Yeah.
So in Leverkusen, that is the big one. I think North Macedonia, they have to be looking at winning. They have to, like, there's no, you cannot.
If you
not
draw
win that game.
then you've set yourselves up for failure, essentially.
Do
you think he's found out from this experiment against England what his trusted individuals are? Because I wasn't too convinced by Cristante, or when we spoke about it on Monday. I thought he was showing up really a few times, but I think he was probably not helped by his colleagues as well. The one thing that I think Spalletti got right was Berardi down that right-hand side, which exploited Kieran Trippier for that goal, right? But they didn't seem to carry it on. So do you think he's learned from what we saw against England, and therefore, we haven't even spoke about the freak that is Jude Bellingham yet, but I mean, his performance, it was incredible. I think he was like all inspiring, wasn't he? Yeah,
we will get onto him. I think I'm surprised Locatelli didn't play. He's having a very good season for Juve, and I think I'm surprised he didn't come in. I think the next games we will see him play. Yeah, and I also think Bastoni will be starting the next game.
He's got to.
I think to an extent for Italy, this game was kind of a free hit. I don't think there was massive expectation on them beforehand. They would have liked, obviously, they wanted to go out there and win, but I think this isn't the game that they have to focus on, or this wasn't the game that they have to focus on. I think Spalletti kind of knew that, so there was a bit of a let's see if there are other options. But I think next time we'll definitely see Locatelli and Locatelli, Bastoni, and even DiMarco starting, really. Just a bit more solid and a bit more experience there. So I think he would have learned things there. I think I'm still going to stick up for Cristante, but I think he's not a starter.
No,
what
but
we've seen is he's not a
squad player, right?
He's someone that can come on when you're winning, kind of like the role that Jorginho does at Arsenal at the minute. Yeah. When you're winning, you bring him on and he can slow the play down, he can keep the ball, he can retain possession, recycle it. I think that kind of role. So I think next time I would expect to see Locatelli playing, basically. But I do like Scamacca up front. I think he's their best. I think he's Italy's best option up front, really. And if he can continue, please continue your form. I have him in Fantacalcio, but please continue your form. If he can get back into good form, then I think he's by far Italy's best option for a striker. Now that Immobile isn't really an option. But we should talk about England. I think it says a lot about England and how much the expectation levels have risen. That they have, they have beaten. They've done the double over Italy. And nobody's really talking about it like it's a big deal. Now, I think historically when England come up against the big teams, we don't usually win comfortably. and there has been a raising of standards and a raising of expectations. And I think we're seeing with this team, even if you say that like Maguire isn't necessarily first choice, although he seems to be, like Calvin Phillips isn't first choice, or like Saka wasn't playing. There were some players missing within this squad, but the depth is so good that it doesn't massively make a difference. I think Foden was really good. I just wish he got more game time at City. I feel like he doesn't play enough at City.
Yeah, I think he is slowly starting to get that, though, to be fair. But I think you really did see reasons why Pep Guardiola doesn't really play Calvin Phillips very often. And I thought he was very lucky to stay on the pitch. Personally, I thought there was two early instances where the referee kind of had a word, if that makes sense.
Well, he should have been sent off. But he should have been sent off.
The thing is, this is what I mean. I think your first one, you kind of go, okay, cool. Second one should have been straight yellow card. Yeah. Definitely. And then it should have been followed up by a second yellow. So I'm surprised Southgate didn't see the signs very early on. I mean, you would have seen on the action replay that one of their challenges in particular, that's the one where you said about Scalvini getting the yellow card for. He had to go because it was on Barella, that challenge. And that was pretty bad. But that said, I think one gone.
No, I think with Calvin Phillips, he's also not playing football. He's rusty as hell. He comes in and he's like trying to impress. He's a yard off the pace. He's like, he's a player I really like, so I'm going to show him sympathy every opportunity I can, because I really do hope. It looks like in January he's going to be gone. Right? I think there's going to be a move. I still would be like, Arteta, just fucking get him. You can get him into the player that he was. We can definitely use him. And while you're at it, get Sancho from United. I'll take them both. But I really hope he gets his career back on track, because he was such a great player for Leeds. He is a very good player. Bielsa was able to turn him into, the Yorkshire Pirlo, if you know what I mean. He was unbelievable. So I think that move at City just hasn't really worked out, and he's not been given the opportunities. But then when he has been... Well, he hasn't really, even since Rodri was suspended, he hasn't really been given the opportunity.
No, he's given 1 or 2 matches. I think there was one in a League Cup match. But again, there was no kind of on the next match up, he wasn't even picked. It was Rico Lewis, right? So I think
against
that kind
Arsenal,
of says it.
It was Rico Lewis.
Yeah. So
I think it does say a lot. It does say a lot. But we're going to talk about Jude Bellingham. Now, I saw a great... I've seen quite a few Scottish people tweeting already. And there was... I think it was a comedian, Mark Gordon, who's very, very funny. Yeah. He tweeted saying, like, Jude Bellingham ties his shoelaces. The English pundit. Not only has he tied his shoelaces, this man has ensured that his boot will stay on for his team. What a captain he is. Now, obviously, it's a very, very funny... It's a funny joke. But I think what I love already is that it's only just started. And the Scottish and the Irish and the Welsh are going to get so angry at how hyped up this guy's going to get by the English press. But I think for once, the hype is completely justified. I think there is not enough hype in the world for how good this guy's been. And it was another performance, and his role in the second goal, where he doesn't knock it over a player and then just play the ball through. Just, he is hitting levels where I think, and this may be... I can't remember the word now, over the top. But I think he's arguably one of the best footballers on the planet at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's no kind of argument to say that he isn't. Like, he's got to be considered as one of the best around, because athletically, how mature he is, how articulate he is when he does his interviews. But he's got the footballing brain. That's the thing. Like, he can wade through those challenges, still have the skills, and either assist or score goals. That is how superb he is, and the fact that he's loaded up in Real Madrid kind of tells you its own story. You don't end up at Real Madrid if you're not a good player. So, I mean, there could be arguments why Gravison ended up there, but that's for another day.
The first name that came in was Julian Faubert.
There's a few examples there, but I mean, you don't take number 5 as a choice very easily without certain say-so from the board and a certain president. So, he's proving what he is. And like you say, it's very scary that he's only 20. I mean, he hasn't really come to the heights yet.
It's mental.
It's mental. Absolutely. And he deserves it, because he's going into a team now that's going to start winning things. And I genuinely, I should have called it a few weeks ago, but I do fancy Real Madrid for this year's Champions League. Purely on him alone. They don't need a striker.
Just the midfield. The midfield is daft. Chouameni, Camavinga, and
Valverde.
Bellingham is just how they've replaced Kroos, Modric, and whoever the other ones is gone out of my head now.
Casemiro wasn't it?
Casemiro, I apologise. Do I apologise? Maybe
Not really.
How they've replaced that midfield in a heartbeat is insane. But I think, he just keeps hitting higher and higher levels, and I'm absolutely here for it because I cannot believe he's English. It's insane. Outstanding performance from him. Harry Kane with 2 goals, obviously a penalty, a very nice finish for the 3rd goal, a very well worked goal. He looks super fit and super sharp. I think he looks in really good shape.
I think he's starting to rub off on what Bayern Munich do, if that makes sense. So I think he's starting to become a striker as opposed to being,
everything.
The creator of everything, does everything, and that's what he was used to being at Spurs, and maybe that pressure's also been taken off him as well because he's not
just focus on scoring.
There is a fee, but he's just concentrating on being a striker. But the one player I wanted to highlight was actually Marcus Rashford. I felt like the kind of exuberance of Bellingham kind of rubbed off on him. It was almost like he touched him and then suddenly he became the Rashford that we know,
like Space Jam.
Basically. But he looks like a completely different Rashford. He looks like someone that didn't have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He seemed like a player that had a trust of a manager, and I suppose that plays a huge part into the success of England, right? And he didn't have to worry about his club. That was the difference.
I think he has the weight of the world on his shoulders at United, and you can see him getting away from that a little bit. It was, again, a really well taken goal, really nice goal. And the amount of runs he was getting down the left, he was just absolutely bombing forward. And he had a few more where he cut inside like he always does, but you can't stop it. Cut inside and just over the crossbar or just missed. And I was like, that's his confidence back. His chest is up. His chest is out. His shoulders are up. He looked, it's a in-form Rashford is a beautiful thing to watch, I'll be honest. So I was really, I'm glad you mentioned him. Really, really good performance from him. And I just have to say, because I have to mention it every time, Declan Rice was fantastic again. He's just fucking brilliant. But a great win for England. I think no real drama.
No.
Jordan Henderson, was he booed as he came off? Well,
it was hard to tell. And that was the other thing we probably haven't alluded to, but Wembley was very quiet.
It was mad quiet.
It was really strange. I had a friend at work that actually turned up for the match, and he said that was the worst match he's ever attended in terms of atmosphere. It was dreadful, in his opinion. And he said he's been to a fair few matches where the atmosphere could be debatable, but he said Wembley was horrific, and you couldn't really hear much going on.
Was it full?
It was so strange.
I thought it looked half empty. Okay,
I think it was the corporate tickets though, because we're behind where the dugouts are. That's normally them lounging around. They probably were too cold, should we say, to sit out there. So, it did empty out very quickly around the 80th minute mark, as soon as England were cruising at 3-1. So, it was a bit of a disappointing
I know that
international
atmosphere. Football is always a bit harder to get atmosphere, but I did. It was very, very quiet. But very big win for England. They are officially at the tournament. Good to see. Me and the boys have applied for tickets for the Euros. We have got weekends booked off or penciled in. Hopefully, Dortmund. Fingers crossed for Dortmund. It's on my bucket list to visit that stadium. So, that would be incredible. So, cross your fingers for us, listeners, please, because England are definitely there now. Ireland won't be, so we'll be with the England fans. But we're going to move on from there. I think that's everything for England, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Nice. Now, we wanted to talk about a momentous occasion within European football. If you don't follow him on Twitter, you have to follow San Marino fan account because he is fantastic. He's just such a good follow. But San Marino score and equalise against Denmark. Alessandro Golinucci getting the goal as Denmark massively struggle.
They did.
And Schmeichel loses his mind. What happened?
Yeah, he's getting really argy with Ball Boy, who he felt was keeping the ball to maintain San Marino's kind of potential draw here. But he snatches it off at the Ball Boy, should I say, and tries to do a quick kick out. But after the game, Schmeichel was questioned by the Danish reporters asking why he was so aggressive with the Ball Boy. And he said, well, I'm here to win a match, aren't I? So He's getting a bit snappy, old
He
Casper.
takes after
must
his
be
dad,
getting
doesn't
after
he?
his dad.
He takes after his dad. Is it Roy Keane described him as a balloon, is it? Absolute balloon, yeah. You imagine getting angry because of San Marino. It's San Marino, man. I know you don't want to be the guy who doesn't beat San Marino, but don't shout at the ball, boys. But incredible moment for San Marino.
Yeah.
The wait for a win goes on, but I think the whole world is behind them. And when they do finally win, there's going to be a party beyond parties. I keep saying to Tiz, right, every time we travel across Italy or we go somewhere in Italy, we always go past San Marino. And I'm like, can we go? Can we go to San Marino? She's like, why do you want to go to San Marino? Like, we have to just visit. When San Marino win, I'm going to go and visit San Marino. I'm taking the girlfriend, whether she likes it or not. That'll be a nice romantic weekend. But good. Elsewhere, one of our favourite teams, or I hope by this point they're one of your favourite teams now, Adam.
Yeah.
Get a massive win in Finland as Kazakhstan win 2-1. And yes, they scored late goals. It's what they do. They just score late goals. They were 1-0 down thanks to Robert Taylor from Finland. And then Bakhtiar Zayutdinov, there you go. Got there in the end.
It's coming out.
Scores a penalty and the winner in the 89th minute. And it means that within the table, Kazakhstan now go up to, I need to find it, they're now third in the table.
They're third, yeah. Just behind the likes of Slovenia and is it Denmark?
Denmark, exactly. So they're third in the table, plus their Nations League performance means that they should almost certainly be secure of playoff places. And as we've seen with their performance against big teams like Denmark and Finland and Slovenia, that on their day they can cause anyone problems. I think I am kind of working on in the case, like, you know, the kind of breaking case of emergency. In the case that they qualify, I'm working on a bit of a let's learn about Kazakh football and who these footballers are.
Yeah.
But on their day, they can cause trouble for anyone, and they seem like a super organized team, right?
I think that just goes to show you the levels of football have increased even for these kind of nations. I know this country in particular is ranked 100. I just searched it on FIFA rankings. But it's joyous in some respects, Rory, that, you know, it's seeing these kind of caliber of teams that used to get trounced on a kind of yearly basis when they were in these groups now starting to kind of grow as a footballing nation. So, you know, when I was looking at one of the groups, seeing the likes of Bulgaria being bottom of their group, it kind of tells you its own story. I was used to seeing Stoichkov, you know, and Boyanov and those kind of players, and now you've got nations like Kazakhstan that weren't even the actual state, were they? They weren't even an actual country back in the day. So yeah, to see them kind of blossom and become even better over time, it's great. I mean, even we have to talk about like Georgia, they've got the potential of going above Norway in Group A as well. So, I mean, there's so many kind of these little nations that are starting to grow in terms of their footballing ability. And I know Georgia's a special case. They've got Kvaratskhelia, but still, for even these lesser nations like Kazakhstan, it's really nice.
Well, this is why the Nations League was brought in, and I think a lot of the bigger nations and bigger nations fans will be like, "Oh, such a pointless tournament. Why have we got to play this? More football to be played." But not everything in football is catered towards you, right? Exactly. And this is why it's been brought in. These teams can actually try and build systems rather than just let's just stick 10 men behind the ball and hope we don't get spanked too much. Yeah. And I think it's honestly the best idea that UEFA have come up with. It is incredible. And it says a lot that I think most other continents now, so they have a North American Nations League as well, right? So other continents are copying it and going, oh, actually, if we do want to see an increase in standards, we need something that does this, that's like, you know, gives consistent competition and even competition and allows practice and development. I think it's just a great thing to see. And I really, really hope that when I'm in Germany, I get to wear my Kazakhstan shirt and they will be at the tournament. I really, really hope that happens. But Adam, was there anything else you want to talk about in the European qualifiers? Any headlines?
I think just seeing Luxembourg kind of, they're on the cusp at the moment in Group J. I know in that group we've got Portugal that are completely dominating.
By the way,
32 goals they've scored, 2 conceded, with a maximum of 24 points already obtained. So they were already through ages ago. So that was one of the highlights in the qualifiers from this week. Obviously, we also saw Serbia beating Montenegro 3-1. So that's a bit of a grudge match there. But Montenegro still maintain third place at the moment as it currently stands. And Austria, under a certain Ralf Rangnick, have qualified.
Can we talk about Ralf Rangnick? Because I feel like United did not use him properly, right? They don't at all shock. Right, United bring someone in and don't use them properly.
He spoke truth, and those video clips are being clipped as we speak, saying, this is what you should have believed.
I told you should listen. But I love this job he's doing at Austria, because all of a sudden it's just like, they've been incredible, right? 5 wins, a draw and a loss, like comfortably second in the group. Like, and I saw it and I had to remember he was manager, and I was like, oh, God damn it, that's another one that United just put in a bloody grave. Unbelievable, the knack they have for that. But also Portugal, I want to very quickly say, I feel like they always smash qualifying and then just, when the tournament comes, maybe don't quite perform as you'd think. I say that knowing they won it 2 tournaments ago, but I feel like they kind of, qualifying, they always absolutely fly through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
But they still do look very, very scary. 32 goals in 8 games is absolutely mental. I can't even do the maths. Good. So, I think that's all the European qualifying.
Just one warm story, which was Wales, obviously. They are within touching distance of actually qualifying automatically. Fantastic result against Croatia. I was going to put it to you. Obviously, we interviewed Lovra, wasn't it, for the World Cup, and it feels like Croatia might screw this up. They're on the same points tally as Wales as it currently stands, but Wales have got the game in hand at the moment, from what I remember. So, well, no, actually, they've got both a game to play. So Croatia have to go to Latvia and Wales have to go to Armenia, which you would anticipate they should get the win. But yeah,
I think Armenia is the trickier of those games. Armenia is the trickier of those games. Yeah.
So it's still within the hands. But I think the nice story about this was apparently Wales FA were going to kind of show the door to Robert Page, but the players got behind him and said, no, it's their responsibility. They're in the position. They convinced the FA to stick with Robert Page, and the bearer of fruits is there, that he managed to pull off this amazing result. I think there was this kind of poignant moment where Wales took the lead with Harry Wilson, and he was kind of like just there, embracing the moment. He was kind of very silent and wasn't doing much. So I think he loved that result, and fair play to Wales. They don't get enough credit because they always seem to be on the back of some terrible defeats half the time. But now they're actually, hopefully, going to have a process now.
Yeah, I think it's really good that the FAW, the one of the podcasts I listen to, they kind of all Welsh football or sports fans, and they always sing the praises of the FAW. They're the most popular football association that I can think of amongst its fans. And I think that they seem to make good decisions. They seem to be very sensible, and they seem to kind of know what they're doing in regards to like fan culture and like everything. But I think on the pitch as well. And I think after the World Cup, there was such a huge event, right? Qualifying for the first time since 56, right? And then being so disappointing. I think maybe there was a bit of a hangover of like just trying to, and then Gareth Bale retires and this whole thing like that there's just this emotional drain, and now there's maybe been a bit of a reset and we go again kind of thing, because that squad is still a very good squad. So I think it's good to see them still in with a shout, and they're always good quality, good value, aren't they, the Welsh? So yeah, absolutely fantastic. Good. We're going to leave the European roundup there for now. We're going to take a very quick break, and we're going to come back with our weekend previews for the Premier League and Serie A.
Hi, I'm Phil Brown, and you're listening to the Anglo-Italian podcast.
We are back, and so is domestic football as Premier League and Serie A returns. We're going to start in the Premier League, I've just decided, as we have a big weekend coming up. Now, firstly, it's a spicy one. The early kickoff on a Saturday, 12:30. Now, we talk about Juve Torino as like the most one-sided derby, But an Everton fan's going to hate me for this. I apologise.
No.
Liverpool-Everton might be up there in terms of one-sided derbies.
Yeah, very much so.
But Liverpool at Anfield, taking on Everton. Beto, I saw a quote from him this week saying that he dreamed of playing in the Merseyside derby from watching it on TV as a kid. I believe it completely. I'm just not sure if he dreamed of being in a blue kit. Again, I apologise.
Yeah, very true.
But this is a really big game. Liverpool, of course, kind of quietly getting about their business this season. How do you expect this game to go? Is it going to be a comfortable win for Liverpool? I kind of can't see it any other way.
I can't really read this one very well because, when you look at the stats, you kind of go, do we dismiss Everton, And it's really strange because if you look at the XG, if it wasn't for where their position is right now, if they'd taken their chances, they would technically be fifth in the league, which is so weird. But that was on the basis of the teams that they've played so far haven't been set of the big caliber teams that they will be facing, like Liverpool now.
Yeah.
Just looking at the head-to-heads.
Except Arsenal.
Of course, there is Arsenal as well. But looking at the record as well, Liverpool have absolutely dominated this fixture. So 14 wins, 13 draws, and only 2 wins for Everton. I think the only time that I remember them coming close, I want to say, was when Ancelotti was there. Do you recall there was that 2-2 draw at Anfield? I think that was during COVID time. So, I don't know which kind of Everton we're going to have. It's almost like that Jekyll and Hyde. Which Everton team turns up? And I think they will give an account, but the problem is I just think Liverpool, with the calibre of players, right, I just think they're going to be too strong for Everton. I mean, how do you see this playing out?
Well, looking at the history books, it is the game with the most red cards in history.
Yeah.
It is the game that has the most draws in Premier League history. It has the most goalless draws in Premier League history. And I think Liverpool have kept 26 Premier League clean sheets against Everton, more than they have against any other opponent. I can only see this going one way, really. I think Liverpool, if whatever happens at the toilet bowl in North London doesn't happen, I think Liverpool win. I think they've been very good this season, so I expect them to fully get the job done against Everton here. I think we could be seeing like a 3 or 4. Because I think once Everton concede 1, it could be like floodgates open. Sorry, Everton fans, I've gone proper 2-footed in on you there at the beginning. Straight, the season's back, bang, 2-footed straight away. The start of the 3 o'clock kickoffs, we have Brentford versus Burnley. We have Bournemouth versus Wolves. In what I expected to be a basement battle, but Wolves, I think, are kind of keeping themselves out of it at the moment. They're a full... they're miles off the relegation zone. 5 points clear of the relegation zone. Bournemouth, obviously, still looking for their first win of the season. I think they might still be looking come Monday. Then we have Nottingham Forest taking on Luton. Man City against Brighton. Now, this is a spicy one. Now, I think Rodri is back for this game, right? This is the first game he's back. So, Man City... no excuses now.
Exactly.
This should be them back to full flow, right?
I would imagine so. I think, obviously, if you look at Rodri being rested, essentially, just take it from that kind of philosophy, he's going to be purring for this. And probably the right kind of spark for Pep Guardiola. And I think if you look at the form of Brighton as well, last 2 games, draw respectively against Liverpool, but then they had the previous defeat as well. I think De Zerbi's starting to feel this is a thing. De Zerbi's starting to feel this kind of fixture congestion, shall we say, at this moment in time, because they are still going to play Europa League games as well in between that. So I just feel like this could be a game too far for Brighton, and I could see maybe a Haaland goal just to get his confidence back up here. I think he's going to be purring, shall we say. So
Man City have won 10 of their 12 Premier League meetings against Brighton, and Brighton have never won an away league game against Man City.
So, says it all.
Maybe there will be an upset on the cards. Please, De Zerbi, just please. I'm praying. We need all the help we can get. Newcastle, a 3 o'clock kickoff. It will be taking on Crystal Palace. absolute scenes. And then late kickoff on the Saturday. I thought it was on a Sunday. It must have got moved.
Yeah, I think it's got moved,
late
yeah.
kickoff on the Saturday. Chelsea against Arsenal at Stamford Bridge. Reece James is back. Chelsea fans are being very, very loud about him being back. Fun stat. This year, Jorginho has captained Chelsea more times at Stamford Bridge than Reece James has. Jorginho's captained them 4 times and Reece James has captained them once. But that just came up on Twitter today and I really enjoyed it. Our record at Stamford Bridge, touch wood, is very, very, very good. So I'm quietly, again, touch wood, confident heading into this game. How do you see this one going?
It'd be very interesting to see from a Chelsea perspective if they can bring the form that they built up over the last few games. I think almost like the international break came at the wrong time for them because it felt like they were gaining momentum at this moment in time. There is still a few question marks, I think, up top, to be fair. So I think there's a lot of question marks on Jackson, to be fair. But, I mean, Reece James is definitely a confidence boost for them ahead of this fixture. But I think Arsenal, that's going to be the critical one, is like you've got the result against Man City, you now need to get a win or at least get a point here. I think personally Arsenal will get a win here. I think it won't be a whitewash of goals. I think it's going to be 1 goal in it potentially, and that should be enough. It wouldn't surprise me if Gabriel from a set piece, someone like that, scores.
Run it back. We did it last year. Run it back.
Exactly.
Run it back.
So I think it will be a close game though.
The player I'm most worried about is Raheem Sterling, to be honest. He's the player where I'm like, he's having a pretty good season. He looks like he's clicking a little bit. Mudryk is starting to knock in a few goals. It would be very classic for Mudryk to score against us, I'll be honest. But kind of quietly confident about this one. On the Sunday, but you're right. After that huge win against City, the last thing you need to do now is drop points. You just need to keep it going, show that it's not a fluke. Then there's a late kickoff on Saturday. Late kickoff. Sheffield United against Manchester United. I think this has banana skin written all over it. What do you think?
I think, we could see Paul Heckingbottom getting a victory. I'm surprised he's still in the job, to be fair, but he is there. And it's probably going to be one of those days, I think, for Man United where they probably wish that the international fixture week was still taking place. Because they would rather see that. And I think, obviously, the news around the ownership piece is, to an extent, it seems to have deflated the fan base, which is so strange because, they obviously want to be state-owned, and that's a separate conversation for another day, basically. But, I mean, just they're getting themselves way ahead of themselves when there was these rumours of, you could have got Mbappe. Let's be serious. You're never going to get Mbappe. And, just stop it. Just stop it and deal with the real issues at the moment in hand. So, Ten Hag, I think, for once, has not got the kind of tension or like the press on him. It's all about the ownership, which is probably welcome right now.
It's probably fair as well to an extent. Like it's about I know we've said a lot that Ten Hag should be doing better, etc., but also there should be a bit of a spotlight on their ownership constantly at that club.
Obviously,
I am also really skeptical as to why they are given a minority share to someone, but giving him control of the club. I just find it. There's something we're not seeing, or I think
the way we're seeing this is, personally, this is my view, is they can continue to pile on the debts on Man United whilst they've got someone like Jim Radcliffe being able to pump in money of his own to help with the sporting side of things. So I think the philosophy here is he's going to take over that ownership piece of how they deal with the sporting aspect, maybe the transfer ability, but rightly kind of highlighted on another podcast that I was listening to is what he did at Nice wasn't necessarily great. Like he didn't transform them into anything. And this is the thing. Nice were quite a well-run club up until he kind of took them over. And since then, they've had numerous kind of transfers where they've splashed out a lot of money as well on individual players like Ross Barkley, Aaron Ramsey, Kasper Schmeichel, for example. Just a few examples there where it just didn't work. And, they had someone like Galtier, for example, in charge, and, he left them. So it does feel like there's a lot of unknowns here, Rory, and I don't necessarily think he's the right person by the sounds of it. But I'm happy to be, corrected if he does turn it around. I think for Man United's sakes and Man United supporters, they crave a turnaround of something, and they need something that is a bit more foresight in terms of their transfer strategy going forward, because I think Casemiro is a stopgap, but he's going to be finished, I think, by the end of the season.
Years.
I think
maybe.
literally they need to start replacing him. So that's another headache going forward. And he's on high wages. Who's going to buy him out?
Of course he is.
Yeah.
No, I think they're just happy for anyone at the moment, regardless of who it is, but just a fresh idea, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I thought Nice have not been great under him. But anyway, on the Sunday, there's only one game. Aston Villa taking on West Ham in the blue and burgundy off. That'll be a fun game. That'll be a really fun game.
Very open game. Two different philosophies to an extent. I think it depends who's going to cancel which team out to a degree, because sometimes
I think they're quite similar. Yeah,
this is what I mean. Like, which one was going to be the standoffish? Who's going to be the more explosive and attacking?
Who's going to have the ball?
It'll be that Simpsons episode all over again. But I think this could be an interesting match because you've got very interesting players on both sides, right? Paquette on one, Bowen as well on the same side, versus someone like Jacob Ramsey, who I'm getting a bit more like, maybe there should be some consideration about him coming into the England squads going forward. I think they've got some decent players, Aston Villa, and it's just about how they can harness it. I think Emery's the right man at the moment at the helm. So let's put it that way.
This could be a very, very entertaining Sunday afternoon. I think Aston Villa West Ham. I might be tuning into that one. Nice. And then on Monday evening we have Tottenham hosting Fulham. Come on, Fulham. That's all I have to say. Just do something. But I think that's going to be a Tottenham win, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it should be straightforward. One thing that I would highlight here as well, Spurs have then got to go and play Crystal Palace on the Friday. Do you think that fixture list is a bit of a strange one, given neither clubs are in Europe, right? It's such a strange one. But yeah, not a lot of resting time for Spurs in that space of time. I would have thought, if anything, bring it to the Sunday.
It feels unnecessary, doesn't it?
Yeah. You would have put someone like from the Saturday fixture potentially on the Monday night instead, but
it does feel unnecessary. But I'm here for it. Fine. They get to rest all week. Sodom. Like nobody else can. Sodom.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the Premier League roundup. Adam, take us through Serie A.
Let's go through it. So we'll start off on Saturday. Not too many games here, Rory, but we'll start off at 2 p.m. where we've got Hellas Verona taking on Napoli. Napoli haven't sacked Rudy Garcia yet, Rory, but I think if there is a defeat on the cards, I could see that being the end of his
Conte was basically confirmed, then wasn't, right?
Yes, he's kind of ruled himself out of it or something like that along those lines. It's such a strange kind of sequence of events, right?
He said that at the moment he's promised time to his family, and he wants to return to a team that have recently won. Which
strange,
makes it sound like he doesn't want to work that hard. If you know what I mean, I don't want to build anything. I just want to ride on the glory of a team.
Basically, he wants to go to Saudi Arabia,
which is Napoli, basically. But anyway, Rudy is still there, but Verona have been absolutely terrible. So Napoli have been,
but I still have faith in Marco Baroni. So I think what he did at Lecce, what you expecting with Hellas Verona, they don't really spend a lot of money either. So
no, they've got nothing.
This is the thing. So anyway, move into the 5 p.m. kickoff. So we've got Torino versus Inter. Inter obviously need to get back to winning ways after their kind of shoddy last few performances, I would say. They've kind of thrown a few games away. I'm sure Inzaghi will be wanting to get a victory here. And then quickly move on to 7:45 p.m. kickoff. We've got Sassuolo taking on Lazio. It could be an interesting game of football there, Rory.
Sassuolo win all day.
Sassuolo to win. I think that is definitely on the cards.
Lazio have been so crap this year. Sassuolo are definitely going to rock up and win 3-0. That's just what's going to happen.
It's going to be a strange one, isn't it? I don't know which way to call it sometimes with Lazio as well. The way they've been playing. I mean, you said it was Scudetto favourites, so yeah.
Thank you. And I thank you every time you bring it up as well.
I'm sure karma will happen one day to me. Karma will definitely happen. Anyway, move on to Sunday at 11:30 a.m. even is Roma taking on Monza. Some interesting new noise coming out of Rome. Potentially Jose Mourinho is going to end his tenure at Roma at the end of the season. That seems to be the news that's coming out. Whether that's legitimate or if that's another leak as has been going about. But Monza on good form as well, Rory. They've been very good up until this point. So could you see Monza pulling off a result?
Colpani for Monza has been absolutely unreal this season, and is continuing to kill it. I think Roma should get a result here, though. I think Monza at home are very different to Monza away.
Yes. Yeah.
I think Roma should get a result here. I think the Mourinho thing's really interesting because I can't help but think it's him just negotiating for a better deal. If you know what I mean, like he's putting out noise. Oh no, I'm definitely going. I'm definitely going. So the Roma board maybe. He likes to be wanted. He likes to be appreciated. I think maybe he's like, if they'll realize they can't do any better than me and they'll offer me more. So I think there could be a bit of that because I do still deep down think that he's really enjoying it at Roma and he is,
of course he is,
slowly building something there, super slowly, but slowly building something there.
You could see someone like Conte rocking up and then like taking it on to the next level, definitely. But
Conte
I don't
at
think
Roma would be interesting. I don't know how that's Conte at Roma would be fun.
That would certainly get it rocking. I think that would definitely be the term. Anyway, we'll move on to the other games that take place at 2 p.m. and that's Bologna taking on Frosinone, Salernitana taking on Calgary. Obviously, we've seen Paulo Sousa leave Salernitana. He's been sacked by them, and Calgary. I don't know if Claudio Ranieri's still there. He probably is still in the background somehow. Just about. So this could be an interesting game because both sides need the win here. But I'm not going to dwell too much time on this one.
No, we need to talk about it's Filippo Inzaghi's first game. It's Filippo Inzaghi's first game for Salernitana.
Yes.
He has taken over a player or a manager with a checkered past. I imagine. I think kind of did all right with Benevento, but then didn't, and he's had some like promising periods. So he's previously managed
Brescia as well, wasn't it?
He was at Brescia, Bologna, Benevento, Regina, so all the way down to Serie C, and then now Salernitana. Obviously, not quite the manager of his brother, but a chance for him to kind of restore his reputation a little bit. If he can get a few results and keep them in the league, then all of a sudden he's worked miracles, I think. But it could be more of a management appointment for Serie B than Serie A.
Potentially,
sure.
But otherwise, the way I look at this is potentially a signing of someone that could potentially train up those strikers to score more goals, which is essentially what they need right now.
There's VAR now, though. There's VAR on offsides. People Inzaghi would have had like 20 goals if they had VAR for offside. You can't teach them anything.
Well, this is true, but I think there was a few relationships there that were getting soured by South still being there. So I think that's probably a good move by Salernitana there. Anyway, we're moving to 5 p.m. So we've got Atalanta taking on Genoa.
Ooh,
that could be a tasty game. Atalanta obviously been very hit and miss, and Genoa, I think they're the pod's favourites so far.
Yes.
The way they've been playing. So look forward to that game. And then
an interesting story came out about Genoa's owners this week. They are, of course, 777 who are trying to buy Everton. We thought it was all going well for Genoa.
No.
But as the Genovese will know, it's never good for too long. And it looks like 777 are currently unable to pay their staff. There could be trouble over the horizon for both Everton and Genoa, not too far, which is just so shit to see because Genoa had that hard reset. They got relegated. They've come up with a really good team. They've made clever signings. They're playing great football. They've got Gilardino. It all looks fantastic.
And then this.
And then there's 777. So just a little bit of a concern in the background there for Genoa. But I think this game, I'm going to say this has lots of goals. I'm going to say this is
I can see this being
3-2,
4-3, something like that. Yeah, definitely.
There's going to be goals city in Bergamo, I think.
Bergamo, yes, definitely. And then we move into the main highlight, which is 7:45, Milan taking on Juventus. There's been another leak by our favourite Corona. He's leaked Max Allegri doing something on the roulette tables, potentially part of the betting scandal. Don't know yet, but he's shown there's a video essentially for circulating, so I don't know how legitimate that is at this stage, but again,
there's an interesting thing going on with Juve, isn't there? I think I keep thinking
their lawyers are doing really well at the moment.
Friggin' hell, they have got to have. They're gonna have to draft Rooney in just to try and do some paperwork. They've got so many cases
on work
going
experience.
on. They've got so many cases. I could do a bit of stapling in the corner or something, Wayne. They've got so many cases on at the moment. But I can't help but think that they are leaking these stories. Because the Paul Pogba story comes out, right, about him doping.
Yeah,
and he's a player that they clearly wanted gone, right? The transfer had not worked, right? And this story comes out, he's gone, right? Allegri is a manager they've been trying to get rid of for a very long time. Can't afford to get rid of him. This story comes out. Fagioli, now obviously it looks like he's in all sorts of like genuine trouble, like addiction and like really honest, like we are all thinking about him and hoping that he can get through this and hope he gets all the help that he needs and that he needs. But I also think Juve potentially aren't the club that are going to do that to a player.
No,
and are going to take the time to look after a player. I don't know what their track record is like for that, but I can't imagine it's great. So I just keep getting the feeling that they're just like dropping these things out and just getting rid of these problems that they don't want. But it is just so endless. It is just so endless. But if we talk about actually on the pitch,
yes,
I think this could be a very interesting game. I'm not going to say it's going to be a great game because I think Juve are going to turn up to spoil the party.
Yes.
But if Milan turn up and play like they can, I think we could see a real masterclass from Milan here. I think they could get a really big win.
Well, I was just going to bring up this point around, and I'm just trying to find it in my bookmarks, but it's Milan's goalkeeping crisis at the moment. I don't know if you saw this,
true.
But essentially, if you haven't seen, Mike Maignan is injured for this game, so he couldn't make it, but also the reserve goalkeeper is missing for this particular match, meaning they are having to rely on potentially someone else. Now, I'm just trying to grab his name, and I can't find it right now.
It's Mirante.
Mirante, that's it. But there was kind of a lot of funny tweets going around about how they should get Giroud's shirt ready for this match, potentially, just so we could see another audition on the goalkeeping post by Olivier. But yeah, to this match, I think this could be an fascinating matchup because Juventus haven't been necessarily great in terms of the way they play, but they're getting results, right, Rory? And Milan, they're starting to pick up form. It's just a question of, will Pioli choke again when it comes to these big occasions where he needs to get results? But, he's getting a tune out of Okafor. I think we've already said about Chukwueze, right? Chukwueze hasn't really delighted, but Pulisic has been quite good. Ruben Loftus-Cheek has gone a bit quiet, but Musa has been very good, as you alluded to. And defensively, I think they're actually quite a decent team when they're on fire in terms of form, but it's getting that consistency. That's the only
always
thing.
Goalkeepers. At what point does Maignan fitness become a problem?
I think it's already been questioned. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they got an offer, say 50, 60 million, they would just accept it now.
He's missed chunks of this season and last season and the season before now.
Yeah, and it's cost them their kind of title.
That is an issue, right? That is an issue. But AC Milan are unbeaten in their last 5 Serie A matches against Juventus. They haven't gone 6 unbeaten since a 7-match streak between 1986 and 1989. So Pioli has the chance to make history here and obviously has the upper hand over Allegri over the last few meetings. So I think this could be, I'm going to say, Milan get a big statement win here. Juve tried to spoil the party and it just doesn't work.
I'm going to go for 1-1. I think they'll cancel each other out. I genuinely feel it'll be Milan will dictate the match. Juventus will get themselves back into the game, and then I'll park the bus. Just typical Allegri style. I can see that happening and boring the pants of all of us, really. So
making us pray for the Sunday evening to end, praying for Monday morning.
Or if you've ever seen James Horncastle do that picture of the man with a cigarette and he Gus or like something along those terms, like it's going to be 100%. One of those, isn't it? But otherwise, quickly just move into Monday's fixtures. So at 5:30 p.m, we've got Udinese taking on Lecce, and at 7:45, it's going to be Fiorentina taking on Empoli. So probably not a lot to write about there. Udinese probably getting another draw, and Fiorentina maybe
we'll just
winning
move on
again.
with our lives. Udinese are going to finish on 38 points. It's going to be it's going to be insanity. Nice. Well, that is our season. Oh my god, I'm so tired listening.
Weekend
preview done. We are going to take a very quick break so I can have a power nap, and we're going to come back with
in a week's time.
We will see you in a week. Surprise! We're back, and it is time for the Mastermind quiz. I have warmed up and limbered up, had a power nap. Adam's got the questions ready. And Adam, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you, Rory. So you have two sets of questions, Rory, to pick from. So topics-wise, you have got your favourite football nicknames in the UK, or alternatively, UK football stadiums. So which one would you like to pick?
Which one am I going to do better with? Let's go for stadiums. You did stadiums last week. I will do stadiums. Here we go. Is it sponsor names or original names?
I've kept it to the original names. So if you do give me one stadium name that happens to be a sponsor name, but I'm looking through my questions and answers, and no, I don't think you have to worry about any of that. So we should be in good hands. We should be in good hands. So, Rory, we will start this in 3, 2, 1. Prenton Park is the home stadium of which club?
Preston North End.
Incorrect.
No, it's not.
Which team also have a stadium named after Arsenal's previous football ground, Highbury?
Barnet.
Incorrect. Number 3. Bramall Lane is the oldest football ground in England's top league. True or false?
True.
Correct. Which club has returned back to their stadium after having been reformed and hadn't played at the location since 1991?
Pass.
Not including the stadium that they have ground shared, Brighton used to play at what stadium prior to playing at the Withdean Stadium?
Gold. Oh, gold. I watched the video. No, I can't remember.
And we're out of time, unfortunately, Rory.
Fuck.
So we'll go through them. I think that was 1 you scored, so that's very respectable. You got the Bramall Lane one, which was true or false, so 50-50, right? But
50-50, guys, I have smashed it. I think we can all agree.
Smashed it this week. Anyway, first one, Prenton Park is Tranmere Rovers.
Tranmere? Why did I say Preston?
I don't know. Highbury Stadium is also at Fleetwood Town. You got the Bramall Lane question right. Which team has returned or back to their stadium after having been reformed and hadn't played at the location since 1991? Correct, Plough Lane, of course. And the stadium that you were getting stuck with was the Goldstone Ground. I'm going to quickly just go through a few more because I think this was a really fascinating one. But County Ground is the name of which former Premier League team?
Stockport County?
No, Swindon Town.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ, I'm so...
Whose stadium is the smallest in the English Football League?
Sutton United.
Incorrect. It wasn't by a lot, but it's Accrington Stanley, believe it or not.
Damn, really?
Kenilworth Road is the smallest stadium in the Premier League history, but which team had the smallest when the Premier League came into inception in 1992-93 season?
Oh, Oldham?
Correct.
Oof.
The Kassam Stadium is the home of Oxford United. What is it famous for?
That's not where... No, I don't know. I'm going to say something really daft. I don't know. I always think it's Sam Hammam who owned that club, but it isn't, is it? No.
It's free stands, having just free stands. There you go.
Okay, right. Okay, good.
Before calling it home, really Anfield was the home stadium of which football team?
Everton?
Correct.
Yeah.
Fulham Football Club declined having which stadium before calling Craven Cottage its home ground?
Wembley.
Stamford Bridge. Oof. And the last question.
Oh, yeah, they were trying to sell it to everybody, weren't they, Stamford Bridge?
West Ham's previous football ground was played by which South London team? They ground shared in the 90s.
Millwall?
No, Charlton Athletic.
Oh, okay, I was going to say that wasn't a terrible idea, Millwall. Yeah, that would have been.
That could have been rivalry hell, yeah.
It could have been interesting.
Yeah.
That could have been interesting. Okay, one. I'll absolutely take it. The one that annoys me is the Brighton one, and I panicked with Preston North End. I've been to Prenton Park. Anyway, good.
I thought I'd put a few Football League ones just in case you get them.
I did a bit of touring with the Alex, but I should have remembered that.
Yeah.
Good. Well, guys, hopefully you got more than me. I hope for your sake you got more than me. But thank you for joining us. As always, Adam, anything to say before I send these lovely people off for their weekends?
Have a great weekend, whatever you're up to. I'll be away next week, so I'll leave you in the capable hands of Rory with some guests. So look out for that. To be confirmed, TBC. But yeah, I'm sure you're gonna miss my anecdotes about Wicked Wanderers and Poland, but probably not. So enjoy your week without me.
We will miss you, Adam, and enjoy your holidays. And yeah, as always, thank you for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter at Italian Anglo Pod, on Instagram at Anglo-Italian Pod, on TikTok at Anglo-Italian Pod. We rattled a lot of pro-Saudi fans. That was fun with our NUFC against sports washing episode. So go check out our TikTok. If you are listening on a podcast app of choice, give us a 5-star rating and drop a comment if you're extra bored. On YouTube, you can hit like and subscribe down here. As always, tell a friend. And we are going to finish, before I run out of breath, with our quote of the week, which comes from Gabriel Jesus. When asked who is the funniest player at Arsenal, he said, I think Kivior or Zinchenko. Jakub doesn't speak at all. You look at him and he always keeps making this face. You'll have to tune in on YouTube, guys, for you to see that beautiful expression. We will see you on Monday.
Ciao, ciao.